The second time was so much easier. I was so much more healthy when I went back a second time that I was actually driving myself back and forth to chemo. It was crazy. And I had to remind myself that I was even going through treatment, because looking in the mirror, seeing that bald head was the only thing that reminded me that I was even sick the second time, which is pretty amazing. So I flew through that one too. I went from July to December, 18 weeks, same as the first. But I stopped 3 treatments short in December when my mom was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. And my sister and I got to walk her home to God. But going through chemo and being in the hospital with her and hearing about the nurses who were coming in sick wasn't good for me and my own healing. So I asked my doctor if I could stop 3 short, and I was already in remission, so she said yes. I learned through so many things about myself and my sister and life in general through my mom's passing, that we have, I believe, many different possible exit points that at some level we can decide. I don't think it's conscious necessarily or human even, but November 8th of 14, my sister was spending the night with Mom, sleeping in her bed, which was very rare, if not never happened, because her son was also visiting and he took the spare room. My mom's sugar level dropped to 40. She was not speaking clearly. She could barely breathe. And because my sister was there, Mom got into the emergency room and saved her life. Had Kristen not been there, Mom would have died. We wouldn't have known why, what happened. It would have been sudden. It would have been a shock. And she would have missed out on 5 months of trying to save herself from pancreatic cancer. So for whatever reason, she stuck around. She was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer the day before Thanksgiving. Very strange timing. I stopped my own chemo in December. My sister and I took turns spending time with Mom. Kristen, my sister, thanks me very often for being so proactive, because she didn't know how close Mom was. I don't know that she would have taken it upon herself to spend as much time as I pretty much demanded that we do. So when she wasn't there, I was. When I wasn't there, she was. We never left her alone for those 5.5 months. And what gifts were wrought in those 5.5 months. We got to go through all the photographs. Who's this, Mom? How old were you? Write them all down. We got to hear her stories again. I recorded a bunch a couple of years before, so I have her healthy voice on a recording. I haven't been able to listen to quite yet. We got to talk about, how will you know me when I'm on the other side? I said, Mom, you'll come to me in rainbows and flowers and butterflies. There's so many things in my life that are just you. 5 pennies. You'll come to me in pennies. We have a favorite family song that Danny Kaye's wife, Sylvia Fine Kaye, wrote. It was in the movie Red Nichols and His 5 Pennies, about a jazz band leader. And the 5 Penny song was a song that my mom sang to us when we were little. So we knew that when we found pennies, that was going to be a sign from Mom. So we were able to talk about it a lot. I was able to get her friends involved a lot. Her 4 friends still thank me, because I don't know that when we're going through this, I know I didn't want company. And I knew it was for them to come and see me, not necessarily for me. So when my mom was going through that, I knew that it wasn't necessarily for her, but it was for her friends. It was important for them to be involved somehow. So her 4 friends and we all took turns. Someone was with her all the time. She went through the worst of the worst in the worst of the worst weather. Blizzards driving from South Bend to Goshen, which is a half-an-hour drive on the freeway. Hair-raising. She was losing more weight. She was yellow. Her poor belly was distended out to here. She had to go in for paracentesis almost every week. So hard to watch. A week into one of her last hospital stays, her body was getting at least a little bit strong enough for chemo. We found a clinical trial for her. And at the very least, in retrospect, working through a clinical trial or a possible clinical trial, she at least had in her mind, I might live for 5 months instead of I'm going to die for 5 months. My sister and I kind of knew. Bless her heart, Mom wasn't necessarily aligning with health because of her diet and her drink. She loved her cocktails and wasn't going to give any of that up, even if it meant helping her heal. So there was a little bit of a disconnect in our minds. So my sister and I were wrapping our minds around losing Mom. And when we were crying and grieving together, we looked at each other and said, this is delicious. This is rich. This is so human. And it just symbolizes this pain, this grief of losing our mommy, just symbolizes the deep love we have for each other. And isn't this magic? And as we were bawling our eyes out, we were able to talk about how beautiful this was. And those little moments of joy and of love and of faith in the midst of the drama and the trauma and the hospital visits and the crying jags and Mom's going crazy and being mean because of the medications. There was so much joy in all of that as we allowed it. And I think for my sister and I, that was key. Once we recognized that this pain is so human and so much a part of our human process that we get to love it and embrace it, things got just a little lighter. And we started looking for those pieces of sweetness. And there were so many of them. So many of them.